Macro photography is all about getting in close to something, isn't it? Now, generally speaking, to get in close to something, you would expect to use a specialist lens, like a macro lens, like this one here. A macro lens allows you to focus in incredibly close to something, way closer than you can with an ordinary lens. So right now you might be thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm interested enough in macro to go out and invest a pile of money, because you're going to look at 250 quid at least to do it. What if I told you that your ordinary lens that you've got on your camera right this minute can very easily be turned into a macro lens? This one here is an 18 to 70 zoom. It's not a fancy lens, it's a kit lens that came with a camera I bought years ago, but it is a very good quality lens, so that's why I've kept it. Simply by taking it off the body and turning it around the other way, it becomes a macro lens. And to prove it, I'm going to take a couple of pictures of these little snail shells that I picked up on the lawn. Let's get down here. Now this is going to be a faff and a fiddle, because I've got to hold the lens in this hand up against the body. And I've also got to hold the aperture open, because the little lever, which is usually connected to the camera to operate the aperture, of course is sticking out into the garden. But look at this. Oh, look. Oh, I like that. Oh, getting close. Now then. Here it comes, here it comes. Now you've got to manually expose when you do this, because once again, all your electronics are not going to work because you haven't got the connectors to the lens. But that doesn't mean you can't take quite a smart picture. Now with all this faffing, you're possibly thinking to yourself, but Mike, why on earth should I bother with all that faff? It's probably better to go and spend 250 quid. Maybe. But what if I told you you could buy one of these for only a £5 and it will cure pretty much all your problems? Let's go through this one step at a time. And the first step is going to be to put the reversing ring onto the lens, because we want to reverse the lens. On this edge of the reversing ring, you have a screw which will fit into the filter thread that's tapped into the end of your lens. This lens has a 67mm diameter, so you need a 67mm Nikon reversing ring for this lens. Find out what your lens size is, and it will say on the inside of your lens cap. There's my lens cap, and it says just here, and if you can see it, 67mm. So 67mm reversing ring. Screw it into the front of the lens where you normally screw filters. There we go. Don't do it too tight, because you may have to get it off. Take off the lens, turn it around the other way, and now you can see there's a little red dot, just like you would have. It's made this end of the lens into that end of the lens. So we pop that on there, line up the dots, give it a turn. There we go. It's locked in place. Just make sure that's tight enough. Now we have a much, much freer hand, don't we? We still haven't got any electronics, because all these little connectors are sticking out into the fresh air. So you do have to use manual mode. Manual exposure isn't difficult. It's especially not difficult like this, because you don't have an aperture to control. Go and have a look at the manual exposure film. It'll tell you how to do it. All you've got to do is adjust the shutter speed to get it right. The other thing that you have to contend with is the aperture. Now this aperture lever here, on this lens there's a little mechanical lever there. I can't speak. There's a little mechanical lever there which operates the aperture. Now I'm pretty sure that most lenses work like that, but I'm not a techie. I don't know everything on the market, so if you have a fully electronic lens, this might not work for you. You'll have to find out. So what are we going to do about it? Well, let's go and sort ourselves out with a shot first. I need to take my toolkit, which will consist of a roller tape and a trusty tripod. Over here, I can't remember what these things are called, these little mushroom-shaped old sort of rock things. I can't remember what they're called, but look at all this, look at all these lichens we've got. Look at all these little tiny things we've got growing on here. Let's see if we can get a couple of shots of them using our reversed standard lens. As you know, you need to photograph things that are not moving with macro, or rather when you're photographing macro you don't want your subject to move because it's pretty tricky. So the first thing I'm going to do is to see what we can do about getting the camera in nice and close to what I want to photograph. So I'm just going to fiddle around for a moment. Here we go. That into there and that into there. This is a zoom lens, and I want to show you something that's particularly interesting, and I think this really has an edge over a macro lens of a fixed focal length. I can still zoom that even though it's on the camera back to front. That means at 70mm I won't be quite as close. Let me see if we can set up a shot. The first thing I want to do though is to wedge the aperture open so that I can see through the lens, because when it snaps to its smallest aperture automatically, it means it cuts down light. I can hardly see a thing through the viewfinder, hence the roll of tape. You can either use a bit of masking tape and just tear a little bit off. Don't get too precious about your equipment either. Lots of people are terribly worried that, oh no, it's a camera, you mustn't put anything close to it because it might get damaged. They're really quite rugged. You don't have to worry. I can't find it now. Where is it? Hang on. Let's undo the tripod. There we go. There it is there, this little lever here. We need to make that stay in that position for a minute. So you could either put a bit of tape on there, you just pull it across, and there you go, it's taped in place. Or, what I always say, never, ever go anywhere without blue tack. And I keep a bit stuck onto my tripod, just down here, all ready for emergencies. All good photographers carry blue tack. Now don't go wedging it into the hole on the lens, because that would just be silly, wouldn't it? But there's nothing to stop you just pushing that across with a little blob of blue tack next to it, and it's the job done. Look, it's much easier than tape. I didn't know that until we just filmed it, because this is all done on the hoof. I haven't tried it before. Let's see what we can do to get a shot. Now then, to move in and out. Oh, straight away, look at that. I didn't expect that. Bingo, we've got a nice, interesting, licheny landscape right out of the bag. I didn't expect that. I thought we'd have to move the camera backwards and forwards a bit to get everything to line up. And I'm just going to push it into the gravel because it wasn't quite staying where I wanted it. Here we go. Oh, that's nice. Now, if I can fine tweak the focus with the focusing ring, and it is a very fine tweak. There we go. I've now set my focus. I've got my shot on these lichens. I now don't have to be an octopus because everything's being held in place for me. But I do need to set my exposure. I don't have an aperture to play with, so there's F nothing. That's all I've got showing in the top of the camera on the light meter. All I've got to do is speed up the shutter speed until I get the little line of dots smack in the middle on the 0, and I know that my exposure is correct. There it is. Actually, every time Jane moves around me, it's changing the exposure here, and the light meter's going up and down like a yo-yo. So here we have it. We have the correct exposure. Take the picture. That's pretty cool, isn't it? You wouldn't expect to be able to do that with a bog standard lens shoved on the wrong way around. I'll show you something even cooler. If we zoom this back into the 18mm end, so I've gone from 70mm to 18mm. Common sense would make you think, actually, this is opening out the field of view. We can see more stuff going on, but it doesn't. It turns it into a super mega macro. Let me see if I can get something. Oh, here we go. Now we're rocking and rolling. Let's just compose a shot. Fine tune it with the focusing ring still. It doesn't have as much power over it now. Get that right. There it is. It's just there. I need to move the camera. This is fiddly, but look, this is photography. Everybody thinks you just go click and take a picture. You don't. You have to work your way through it one little step at a time. And I'm nearly here. There it is. There. Moving a bit, which I didn't expect, and take the picture. You wouldn't imagine that was a minute, almost microscopic piece of lichen, would you? You'd even more expect that a shot like that, to get that kind of magnification, was taken with a specialist macro lens, but it wasn't. This is the easy man's way to macro, and I'm a great believer in low-tech solutions. So for £5 and a piece of blue tack, you've got yourself a super duper mega macro lens.